Hey everybody, what's going on and welcome back to another video. So pretty much the AC completely muffled my audio right here, so I had to record a little voiceover, but pretty much I got my quick jacks in. I was initially missing a bunch of parts. They finally came in, so now we're going to get around to setting these things up. So everything here wasn't in the box. All that I ended up getting were the two quick jacks and the handles and the pump, which is over here. The actual fittings, you know, the Teflon tape, the two small hoses, all the blocks, and the two main hoses, none of that stuff was in the box. So I called up Home Depot. They wanted me to send this stuff back to the store and do a return and then do a whole new order. And this took me like a month for them to finally get it to me from California. And the shipping kept getting delayed, and it was this huge pain in the ass. And I finally get them. I realize I don't have the parts, and they want me to lug these things back to the store so they could do a return and then place another order, which I probably won't have until like July. So I told them I'm not going to bring them back. They ended up calling up Quick Jacks, and they sent me this directly from BenPack, actually. I guess BenPack makes the Quick Jacks, but they sent me the fitting kit, the two small hoses, the blocks, and the big hoses. I did go and pick up some transmission fluid. You can either put hydraulic fluid or transmission fluid in this thing. It takes like 2 quarts. And I did go for the 7,000 pound model. I got these for $12.99 on sale. It was like a Father's Day sale. They were normally $15.99, and then I could have got the 5,000 pound ones, which were like $1,100. So I figured an extra $200 to be able to lift the Tahoe, because the Tahoe's I think like around 5,600 pounds. This will be able to lift the Tahoe now. I could probably lift most like small pickups, and I think in the long run it's going to be better to have the 7,000 pounds. I mean, in here, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to lift the Tahoe because the ceiling is so low, but I can always pull them outside or use them in the driveway. So in the long run, I think it's good to have the ones that can hold the extra capacity. So I don't think I'm going to go through a detailed step-by-step setup. I'm just going to go set everything up, and I'll tell you guys what I did after. And then we'll fill up the reservoir, get it hooked up, lift them up to kind of get the air out, make sure they're both lifting evenly. Then we'll pull the Camaro in here and see how they do. Alright, so I'm just about there. I just finished hooking all the hoses up. I put the 90-degree hydraulic fittings into each cylinder, hooked up the short hoses that then have male quick connects on those ends, and then on the two long hoses, each end of those get this female quick connect, and the actual pump that has a male quick connect for each fitting, and the hoses just clip into that. Right now I'm gonna have to fill up the reservoir, but before I do that, we gotta come in here, and these air cylinders here, they have to be filled with 50 psi of air. I'm not exactly sure the reason behind that, but it says before I use them that has to be done. I'm guessing that's just like a one-time thing when you first set them up. But I got my compressor filled up already. We're just gonna pump them each full of about 50 psi, and then we'll fill up the reservoir, and I think we'll be ready to go. Alright, we're good. Alright, so according to the instructions, this thing takes like 2.5 quarts of either hydraulic fluid or Dextron 3 or like synthetic transmission fluid. I'm just going to use regular Dextron. Also, you can see the way I'm wired up here. We have the main power coming in through a 12 gauge extension, because when they were doing construction outside with the sidewalk, they ripped the power wire out from underground, and that pretty much killed power for in here. And it's been this way for a few years. It works good, and that just plugs into a dedicated breaker on the house, so the garage is on its own breaker. So it's not like this is feeding off of other circuits in the house where we're going to be blowing fuses all the time. But it doesn't get warm or anything, even with the AC running, so we'll see after the quick jacks. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be able to run the quick jacks with the air conditioner at once, but I don't think this is going to use any more power than the AC. So I'm going to leave it there for now. It almost took 2, but once the hoses fill up, I'll have to top it off. All right, instructions say about a quarter to a half turn counterclockwise for this. So let's just set this here. That should be good. All right, so now I have the thing standing up vertical. Next step is going to be to loosen this bleeder valve to get the air out of the top of the cylinder. I guess you're filling this up and it's pushing the piston back in or something, and the air is coming out. I'm not too sure, but it wants you to set this thing up vertical and then loosen the bleeder valve here. I don't really hear anything. I mean, I loosened it. Whatever. The reservoir is filled. The bleeder valve is open. The vent valve, is open on the reservoir. So let's just go over there, hit the button, and see what the hell happens. So I'm not going to be able to top off the fluid until we actually get these moving. All right, I'm going to look at the troubleshooting section, but I have a feeling that this pump is junk. Because like I said, when I opened it and noticed I was missing the parts, I noticed there was kind of some dirt on it. It wasn't like scuffed up or anything, but it looked like it may have been used. So I'm going to go through troubleshooting here, see if I can find anything. But I have a feeling I'm going to have to wait at least another friggin' week for them to send me a pump now. All right, so a quick look at the instructions say that I might have to prime the pump if no pressure's coming out. And we're going to do that by loosening the relief valve on the bottom there, hitting the switch until some fluid comes out. Right, so they said pull the relief valve completely. Which now it's going to freaking pour fluid, so I'm not going to pull it, I'm just going to leave it loose. And then they want you to lift the pump here. Well, I hear air coming out. All right, let's try that. Making a mess. Hearing stuff. Come on, there we go. I'm not going to go all the way up, I'm just going to kind of run them halfway up, lower them, and then I'm going to go all the way up just to kind of bleed any air out. Alright, I'm also noticing that they're working with the AC running. I'm sure once a car's on here and there's a load, it's probably going to blow the breaker. A lot quicker now. Oh, that's actually pretty damn high. I didn't think... I mean, I knew they went up a good amount, but... I don't think I could get my jack stands that high even. Without a lot of kind of running around each corner with the jack stands. That's the whole reason why I got these. I know you can't... It's not like a regular lift where you could stand under it, but when you're working in a garage like this, And with jack stands, there's really not a lot of room to get on that side of the car to jack the thing up, get jack stands under it. It's going to be a lot easier just to pull in, press a button, and then instantly the car is evenly and safely jacked up, opposed to having to run around each corner and fumble around with jack stands. Yeah, so that is not good. Basically, the header caught them and just pushed them all the way forward. All right, plan B. Right away, kind of see a major flaw. One thing, this hose for this side might not be long enough, and I think that's because the way I set these up, I should have put the ends with the piston towards the back. So that I guess I could fix. I just got to spin them around. For now, I'm just going to run the line under the car so it reaches in the back corner. The other thing is, I'm jacking up by the subframe connectors. The subframe connector on the other side, it only extends up to maybe here. So this whole spot, I basically have nowhere to put the brick. There's like an angled piece of subframe connector that kind of goes up, but it's not going to sit flat. So right now I just put a bigger block, and I'm hoping it's kind of going to wedge itself between that and the pinch weld. But that's the area, pinch weld, where the fender is, where you can't jack it up by because it's going to crush the fender. So I don't know how that's going to work. But I'm going to hook this hose up, go up slow, see how that side sits. And if it looks good, we'll go up with it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find another place or another way to kind of modify this thing or put something on the car where I can actually lift it from that area. I'm actually going to hit the back door before I get all the way up. So I have to move off further. Alright guys, so it's the next day. I've been messing around with these for a little bit, and I think I've got them at the point where they're going to work the best, but I mean there's still a little tweaking that can be done. On the driver's side here, well, with the whole lift setup in general, I flipped them around because I had them backwards, so now the hoses are at the back of the car. And I just had to switch rails from side to side so the cam locks would still be on the outside. But what I ended up doing was positioning it so I have a brick, one of the thicker rubber bricks, right under the subframe connector in the front here. And when it's flipped around, this front rail actually has two recessed holes where you can put the bricks. So you got this one section here, and then behind this, there's another section. So that solved the problem I was having on the other side, without having a place to put the brick because it was kind of near the pinch weld for the fender. So now I can actually put a brick all the way back here, and that'll grab the pinch welding. There's no subframe connector I could really grab on over there. And then for the back, same thing. After flipping it around, I'm able to get the brick all the way up towards the front here, right where the subframe connector is, and the control arm actually goes down into the rear section here, so it doesn't actually hit the frame anymore. And then coming over to the passenger side, same thing with the back. I just have it right on the subframe connector, one of the thicker rubber blocks, and towards the front here, you can see what I mean, where I have it, if it'll focus, it's right under the pinch weld here. So that grabs that really well because right up front here, there's really no subframe connector to grab. All right, so they do work. I couldn't get it up all the way because I was going towards the back door. I have to move the front end up a little bit more. All right, so I just went up and down with it one more time. One more thing I did was move the rails pretty much as far up to the tires as they'll go because they do fold back when the thing actually goes up. When it comes down, this whole piece comes forward. So being most of the weight is leaning towards the front of the car, I moved that as far to the front tire as I can, and then I just re-racked it. And you can see it's perfectly centered between the front and back wheels. But now I think I'm going to try to crawl under here and we'll see how much space we have. Alright, so there's quite a bit of room under here. It's a little bit tight with the creeper, but that's probably because the car's so low and there's kind of a space. I can't really get a tighter block in there. If I could get a bigger block, I'd probably get like an extra inch of lift. But I mean, I could come in here relatively comfortably and do little stuff on the creeper. If I'm doing like a transmission or something big, I'm definitely just going to kind of crawl under here on some cardboard. It's just going to be better. It's going to leave me more room to work. But you can see what I mean here now with the frame rail over there. So there's the crossover for the subframe connector. And that's kind of where I was first putting the brick, but it also kind of angles up. But after I realized I had them backwards and I flipped them, that gave me enough room to actually grab the pinch weld right behind the fender. But other than that, I mean, everything seems to be good. Only thing I'm noticing is over here, I guess the floor is a little bit uneven. Towards the back, there's like a space where it's not sitting perfectly flat. Other than that, shaking the car, it's very secure. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. I think on a regular car, you know, like a not even the Trans Am, being that's not modified, that's going to be kind of a pain too. But like on a Civic or any kind of basic like 4-door car, a Camry or something, it's probably going to be a lot easier to lift just because you're not going to have subframe connectors in the way and you're just going to have an even gap all the way around as far as the pinch weld goes. So it'll be a lot easier to get a jack point and actually get the thing lifted up even without having to do all this kind of finagling around trying to figure out which bricks or blocks are going to fit the best and exactly where to position the lifts. You could probably just slide them under there, lift it, and you'll be good to go. But as far as lifting it up, it does take a little time to get everything positioned the right way, and you want to make sure it's secure. But I think this is just my first time using them, so as I keep lifting the thing and I work on it and I get used to using them and more confident in them, I think it's going to be a lot quicker just to slide them under there. I know exactly where to put the bricks. I know exactly where the jack points are, and I can lift it up a lot quicker. The first time I was just kind of playing around, figuring out what's going to work the best. But for anyone who's interested, I picked these up at Home Depot for like $12.99. These are the 7,000-pound model, so they will lift the Tahoe. They also make a 5,000-pound model, which is like a couple $100 less. But if you want to check out both models, I'm going to put a link to them down in the description. But for now, I think that's going to do it for this video. You guys are going to see more of these in upcoming videos. Probably the next one where we're going to start breaking into the transmission. I don't know if I'm going to make the 20-second to get this thing to the track or not. I'm going to try, but I almost have a feeling if I'm going to pull this out, I might just go forward and do the scatter shield and everything while it's out and just forget about the end of the month and make an event sometime in July and get it all done at once. Because I also have that ice tank in there. Even if I got the transmission done, I have a feeling that ice box is going to make a huge difference because just running the little tiny one that's under the hood now, the IATs got up to like 140, 145 when I was doing pulls with the thing at the track in like November with like 50 degrees outside. So if I'm going down the track with like 85 or more, you know, ambient temperature, I don't think that little tank is going to cut it. All right, but that's going to do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in a few days.